Hello, Virgo. Welcome to your March monthly reading. I'm Dr. Fryson, and I'm going to do a astrology, numerology reading for you, as well as give you your lesson card for the month. And if you like this type of reading, I want you to follow, give me a like, give me a share, come back later, tell me how this month ended up for you. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is go over your lesson card, and I pulled a card. So let's see what it is. So what is this? Success. Oh, such a good card for Virgo. I know that there is no greater goal than to love, and love is the ultimate form of success. So the lesson that you will be working on this month is success, and definitely loving, which is kind of key because Venus is the goddess of love and is all over your energy and everyone's energy at this time. So let's get into the astrology and numerology portions of it. So for the month of March, March is a 3 month, and it is a 3 month in a 9 year. So in essence, the three energy will be felt greatest. And the three is represented by Gemini, which is the other sign that is ruled by Mercury. Virgo is also ruled by Mercury. So these are the two signs that are involved in communication. So this brings about a month of communication and hard work for you, Virgo, because Virgo is the workhorse, right? It's dedicated to working hard, dedicated to making everything into a reality. So you're going to need to work on communicating in order to effectively get your work done during this month. All right. Let's get into your astrology. There's a lot of aspects that I go over with the astrology. I start with the basic astrology of the energy that's around, and I also add in what's happening with the moon. Okay. So, and I took notes ahead of time, so I kind of not leave anything out for you. So, starting with week one, there's a couple of things I want you to recognize, and that is that the Venus energy is traveling with Mercury, right? It's traveling with the North Node, and it's making this little transition, but it's also followed closely by the moon, Saturn, the sun, all these other energies that are out there. And because these energies are all out there at the same time, it's a lot coming at everybody during the month of March. I mean, this alignment has not been seen, I guess they said 200 plus years, and won't be seen again, not in our lifetime. So there's a lot happening. And with all of that happening, you got to have to focus, and it's easy to get distracted, right? So during the first week, when it first started out, first part of the month, Venus, Mercury, North Node was in Pisces, still in Pisces, but that's impacting your seventh house. And the seventh house just so happens to be about relationships, marriage, partnerships, and things like that, commerce, things of that nature. So that means those areas are highlighted for you. And there could be some good things, right? Because it's Venus starts out with some kind of nice energy, but it does start out in the retrograde aspect, which means that retrograde, most people think it's not so good. Again, I think retrograde is fine. It simply means you're revisiting something before you move forward, right? So this Venus energy is going to stay around for a lot longer than what it normally does because it comes, it goes backwards a little bit and comes back. But during the first week for you in Pisces, this impacts the Jupiter energy as well that rules the Pisces energy, right? This is Eastern astrology. This is not Western astrology. And so that means you can see an increase in wealth in your seventh house associated with partnerships and marriages and things of that nature. So perhaps you can come into money from an in law or something like that, but you can definitely see an increase in wealth during this time. Looking at the first week, we also see your business could improve, right? Because of that seventh house energy. And we do have a little bit of something that's not so nice, and that is with an adulterous kind of energy. And adultery can be in a partnership with a lover, like, right, someone who's not faithful, but it can also be a business partner that's not faithful and perhaps making deals behind your back. So pay attention to that. You can kind of have a little aimless kind of energy, not exactly knowing which direction that you're going because all the different energies are coming at one time. My advice to you would be to focus, make a plan, what you're good at, right? And follow the plan, okay? And the other thing that I see for the first week is your ninth house. Jupiter is impacted because Venus is kind of influencing that area. The thing is that Venus and Jupiter get along really well. So your ninth house, which is about good luck, higher learning, education, long distance travel, is favored at this time. Um, Energy regarding father figure is favored as well. And then your sixth house is impacted with Saturn and the Sun in Aquarius. Saturn and the Sun in Aquarius in your sixth house is about health, death, debt, and sports and competition. So you might see a lot of competition in the sixth house, meaning you might have to deal with enemies, whomever you're in competition with. So that could be a business partner, a work partner, a coworker. It can even be a stranger. Um, you have to focus on your diet during this first week because I see that coming up as something that might be a little bit of a challenge for you. Okay, so let's look at the second week. Okay, Virgo, so let's continue on with week 2. And for you, let's move our chart here to week 2. So for week 2, you have a couple interesting things. One, so again, this Venus energy is going to be following everyone, right? This Venus, this Mercury energy are going to follow, which again, you're ruled by Mercury. So in essence, Venus and Mercury are two planets that are favorable. They get along, right? They bring a kind of good energy. So it's not necessarily a bad time with that energy, but it does mean that your focus might be shifted, right? So with week 2, you also have an energy of the Mars and Moon start to work together, right? And for you, this is going to be in your 10th house. And your 10th house is about career, government, and commerce. So you could be dealing with a CEO, you could be the CEO, and you have to put something in place, something to move, some action has to be taken during this time. So a decision has to be made, and then a plan on how to enforce whatever that decision is has to be made. And you have to actually move forward with the energy associated with that. With the moon there, you might have a little bit of a surprise, means something come up in business that you weren't expecting. Just be aware of that. Some people will fall from high graces. So there's some people who are in positions of authority. They might be a CEO, the CFO, the COO. That person might step down or they might be forced to step down. Hopefully this is not you. But if it is you, you just need to make a plan on how you're going to recover in your life. You might be in a business and hear of someone being forced out of a particular role. Okay. The next thing is reputation is so important during this time. Make sure that your actions line up with the representation of yourself that you want to give to others. And make sure that you're ethical in all of your business dealings, because this time comes up with some energy that could cause you to be put in a situation to have to make a decision of doing what's right or doing what's profitable. Okay. Then starting on March 12th, the moon is going to move into Virgo. That's not a good time for marriage, but it's a great time for work, right? It's a great time for you to get things done. It's a good time for financial success, right? So, congratulations, you. Yay. It's a time to work on your inner happiness, though, because Virgo tend to work a lot, right? Virgo tend to build things, build career, build. That's what you guys do. But you don't necessarily work on building yourself internally, right? So this is a time for you to work on what makes you happy outside of being successful and your measure of success, right? Virgos are good in careers and government, meaning military, right? So you might be very successful in the military, but what makes you happy outside of that thing, outside the job, right? So it's a good time to focus on that happiness and bring that out. So if painting, because Venus is here, right? You might like some art. You might like to paint. You might like to express yourself in that way. Focus on that type of happiness. Okay. The other thing for you to do is to pay attention to your digestive center. And your digestive center includes all of the organs related to the whole system, right? Your intestines, large intestines, small intestines, all of these organs are important. You could have some bowel obstruction, something like that, some kind of blockage going on. Make sure you take care of your health. Seek out a healthcare professional if you feel you're having some issues there, constipation, gas, diarrhea. All of those things could be a problem for you at this time. This is not a good time for surgery, right? So don't do that because the moon brings up hidden things, things that are, not necessarily known. So you might have a surgery and then you might take a long time to heal. They might go in for one thing and discover something else, or the wrong person is there. Any kind of little thing could happen. So if you have to make a decision about having some type of abdominal surgery or something in that area, perhaps put it off for at least a week. Wait until the moon leaves out of Virgo. All right. It's a good idea for you to eat nuts and pickles because they will help you. And definitely, like pickles, really good with helping with cramps. Nuts, so many different reasons for nuts to be good for you. Avoid bitter and sweet items during this time. One, they could be addictive, but two, they're going to be bad for your digestion during this time, even more so than normal. And another thing for you with this moon in Virgo is your intuition. Your intuition is not going to be as strong as it is on other occasions. So this is where you're going to have to be the practical Virgo. You're going to have to go off of what you know to work, meaning a plan, right? So A, B, C, D works. You have to stick with A, B, C, D. You're not going to be able to go off script, right? And just be like, oh, I think no. No, go with what you know works during this time. Okay. And then let's move on to week 3. Week 3, starting with March 16th, Venus and that whole energy goes retrograde, right? And then the sun enters the picture with them. For me, retrograde is not completely a bad thing. Unlike most people, I see retrograde as a time of reflection. And some retrograde moments can actually be good because you can remember something that you did in the past that you wanted to pick back up and work on, and that now you're in a better place to work on it. And so now if you pick it back up, you can have more success with it versus what most people think is just going back to visit an ex-lover. This is not necessarily what the energy is about. With the sun moving in to impact the Venus and moving to impact the Mercury energy, it is actually a good energy because the sun acts like the dad. The dad wants to give his kids everything that they need in order to be successful. So you get an extra boost of energy. So your artistic endeavors become more successful, right? Your playful things become more successful. Your work ethic becomes more successful, like the things you put your mind to. If you are doing some physical activity like running, you might PR in your running endeavor, right? During this time. Okay. So that's what you can look forward to third week. I consider this week to be what I call the boys club energy. In the boys club, the boys like to give each other the tools. They like to help each other, lift each other up. That's the kind of energy that you got going on. What you have to look for as a challenge is that this energy is in your first house, which is your body, which is great, but it's also in your seventh house, which is about partnerships. Sometimes you can have too much of a boys club energy when you're trying to have a relationship, and you don't want outside influences to come against your relationship. Pay attention also to paternal grandparents, as you might have some news about them. Could be a grandfather, could be someone with an illness that takes place with some type of stomach issue, stomach cancer, or something to that effect. Watch out for that. This is definitely a focus on health and fame. There's a lot of times when people in this energy have so much energy lighting them up that other people start to recognize who they are. So in your business, you might see that people start to recognize you at work for something that you're doing, which could be really good. The downside of that is if you have some type of faux pas, that will also show up brightly. So make sure that you're putting your best face forward at all times. Another thing that you could be focused on with the retrograde energy is birthplace. You might be nostalgic for wherever it was that you grew up as a child, and you might decide to take a trip during this time, which is favorable. It's a good time to travel for you. Okay. Um, you could come up against an enemy, whether it be at work or at home, and actually be successful during this time. And then we move on to the third week, and let's shift our to the third week here. Um, you have a ton of energy in the third week. And when I say the third week, this is going to be the week of the 23rd for me, right? So take that for what it is. Again, you still have all those energies showing up over that whole Pisces energy, which let's even talk about that. Let's even talk about the fact that Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter, because this is Eastern astrology, is Jupiter is a father-like energy as well, but Jupiter is also an advisor. So this means that your counsel that you're receiving from others is influenced by that Venus. So this might be a loved one, which is influenced right now by the sun, which is, might be an authority figure, which is also influenced by Mercury, which might be a young person in your life who are giving you some advice. And then Venus, which might be a feminine teenage type energy, someone that level of youngness away from you. Those people might be able to give you advice that you might find useful in your life. Okay. Now, the other thing that I see here is the moon moves, that energy moves into your fourth house, which is about domestic relationships. So things in your home, you lots of things can be revealed, but some of the things that could be revealed could be great, right? You could find that you get a tax break on your house, and that's a good thing. But you could also find out things like you have a leak in your roof, or something needs to be repaired, or someone is moving back home, who you thought had left home. There's a lot of things that you can find out, but it also means that you should dedicate some time to the home space. You should dedicate some time to being there, as that would be helpful for you in your psyche. And then we move to the last week, which is the week of the 30th. And in that case, the moon moves to your eighth house. And for your eighth house, this is what I call the secret assassin house, because so much happens in this area where there's thieves, people who are coming against you. There's poisons in your health, which things that aren't really good for you. There's sexual exploitation of things that people like, sexual deviance and things of that nature. So this is really, really difficult on a lot of levels, because there's so many things that are in opposition to what you need for them to be in that house, that it's hard to figure out which one to focus on. I would focus on the one that's the most detrimental. And so if you have an enemy, make sure you find a way to resolve that situation. And you can do this through diplomacy, of course, and sometimes you might have to do this through legal matters. When it comes to the sexual kind of thing, it might be that someone is interested in you who might not be your match. So it might be a gender that you don't prefer, right? And it might cause you some conflict in that sense. And poisons is for your health. So you might find that you've been taking something that has not been good for you, that actually has been causing harm to you versus you thought it was going to be helpful. So I would caution you to pay attention to your health and to the things that could go wrong during that last week of March. All right. And this is what I have for you. I hope this helped. If you like this video and these types of videos, remember to subscribe, share, leave me a comment. Let me know what worked for you. Remember to watch my daily guidance where I give you the affirmation and the numerology for the day. And you guys be well. See you next time. Bye.